right. Thank you all for being here. This is the Philadelphia District Attorney's press conference in order to announce, with some of our good colleagues and partners, a series of town halls. These town halls are going to be referred to, at least until we have a better idea, as the Be the Light, Bring the Light community town halls. I'll give you the specifics on date, time, and location because they are tonight, tomorrow night, and the next night in just a moment. And they are necessary. They are necessary because this is a great city. This is the cradle of democracy. This is a city that is setting historic lows in various categories of crime, that is also setting historic lows in terms of incarceration. And yet we find ourselves in a position where certain people want to claim a crime emergency that is completely false. And they want to do it as an excuse to invade, simply put, to invade. You may see up here with me a limited number of elected officials. They, like me, are important, but they're not the point. The point is the activation of people who are not elected, who are not rich, who are not connected and powerful. The point is that every great social justice movement comes from the grassroots. It comes from the row houses. It comes from the people on their way to church in the morning on a Sunday, or to their mosque, or to their synagogue. That's where the great social justice movements come from. They don't come from us, and I'm really pointing to myself, as politicians. It's not where it comes from. It comes from the grassroots. All of us, and I know I speak for my colleagues here who have done so much to try to move this city in the right direction, Councilmember Jamie Gauthier, Councilmember Kendra Brooks. We are also blessed to have with us Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck, Senior Pastor at the Grace Baptist Church of Germantown, which will be a location for the second of these 3 town halls. Great social movements come from people. Power comes from people. Votes come from people. Our being elected comes from people. And it is specifically and most importantly those people who, when we listen to their ideas, we hear their concerns, and we are able to assist them to do what they already want to do, which is to act, to avoid an invasion, to guard against bloodshed, to guard against riots and everything that this kind of invasion threatens. It is those people who are going to stand up and stop it. So we need to do our job, which is to work for them, to assist them, to help them. And by them, I mean you, Philadelphia. You who have done so much to get us to this point where we are a safer city, where we are a freer city, where we are a city that deeply cares about its democracy and doesn't want its vote erased. We need to lift you up and let you lead this. And that is exactly the intent of these town halls. My colleagues, as you I'm sure know very well, are extremely hardworking and very busy. So before I go on with a few more details, I just want to make sure to acknowledge that we have with us today Nia Leonard, who is the director of our CARES unit, Marielle Dela Cruz, who's the director of our Victim Services unit, in addition to the 3 speakers who are here. I know that Council Members Gauthier and Brooks have extremely busy schedules and that they are in many, many different ways protecting our city. I'm going to ask them to come up and say a few words, and followed by Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck, and then we will get into the details of these events, which are once again tonight, tomorrow, and the next night. It is my pleasure to call forward a longtime partner, an excellent public servant, someone who has done so much to get us here in terms of funding prevention, among many, many, many other excellent things she has supported, and that is City Council Member Jamie Gauthier.
Thank you, District Attorney Krasner, and good morning, everyone. Donald Trump says he wants to send troops into democratic cities. Well, let me be clear. Philadelphia is not his battlefield. Troops in neighborhoods don't make us safe. Occupation doesn't make us safe. Fear does not make us safe. Real safety comes from trust, from neighbors looking out for each other, from officers who serve, not intimidate, from affordable housing, from food access, from quality schools, from green spaces where our kids can play. But Donald Trump doesn't care about real safety. He doesn't care if families eat. He doesn't care if children have homes. He doesn't care if our neighborhoods thrive. What he wants is fear. What he wants is chaos. What he wants is soldiers in our streets, so he can strut like a strong man while gutting food assistance, slashing affordable housing, and selling out our future. That's not strength, that's cowardice. That's not leadership, that's authoritarianism. And here's the truth that he doesn't want you to hear. Crime in Philadelphia is dropping at an unprecedented pace. Murders are down, shootings are down, and our communities are rebuilding. I'm grateful to DA Krasner for launching town halls across the city to bring people together, to give our communities the facts, and to prepare for whatever Trump may try to do. I urge community members to participate in these events because safety is built with the people. It's not imposed on them. And I know what militarization looks like. I was on 52nd Street in 2020. I saw tanks roll in, releasing pepper spray on protesters. I stood between police and riot gear and neighbors trying to call for calm. That trauma is still with West Philadelphia today, and we will not go back. Philadelphia is the birthplace of American democracy, and we will not let Donald Trump turn it into the graveyard of American freedom. Thank you so much, and I hope to see many community members tonight and across the next few days.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Gautier, one of two of my sheroes who are here today. It is my great pleasure to introduce Philadelphia City Council Member Kendra Brooks, also the minority leader in council, who has never stepped back from her activist organizer roots. And oh my, can she organize? Oh, trust me, she can organize. If there's anyone who is truly in the middle of this duality between being elected and understanding where the power truly comes from, it is Councilmember Brooks. And so I am delighted to introduce her as just one of, as one speaker who can speak to her constant daily battle to do what is right for Philadelphians.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Councilmember Kendra Brooks, and I'm proud to serve as the minority leader for Philadelphia City Council. And thank you to our District Attorney Larry Krasner for bringing us together this morning with a plan on how we can collectively prepare for the possibility of the National Guard being deployed here in Philadelphia, in our city. Back during Trump's first term, and now his second term, DA Larry Krasner has been a leading voice for justice, for democracy, and for the rights and dignity of the people of Philadelphia. Even when everyone else was silent, our district attorney speaks out, and he isn't afraid to take action against bullies who aim to take away our power, undermine our elections, and terrorize our people. Trump is the ultimate bully. He's treating federal troops as his own personal thugs. He has already sent National Guards into Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Chicago, with disastrous results. In Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson signed an executive order that sent a very clear message. We do not need or want unconstitutional, illegal military occupation in our city. We do not want military checkpoints or armored vehicles on our streets, and we do not want our families ripped apart. As Philadelphians, we must be ready to send the same message, whether it's mass ICE agents or National Guard troops. You are not welcome here in Philadelphia. Philadelphians, we don't take lightly the bullies, and we've known to get loud. When Trump tried to undermine our elections in 2020, we took to the streets. My party, the Working Families Party, organized a massive gathering outside the convention center and welcomed everyone to show up. We played music, we danced, and we got loud with one clear message: count every vote. And if Trump violates our constitutional rights by sending in the National Guards to Philly, he will find out how loud we can get. When he claims that crime is out of control in our cities, we will get loud with the truth. Crime is down, both here in Philadelphia and in Chicago, and we are the ones that keep us safe. When he claims that immigrants are destroying our communities, we will be ready to tell the truth, that immigrants are essential members of our communities. They make our communities stronger. And when he evokes stereotypes about Black and brown people, we call out his racism and highlight the strength and resilience of our communities. This week in City Council, I will be introducing a resolution condemning Trump's deployment of the National Guard in cities across this country, laying a clear message that we can all stand behind. These deployments are illegal. They're unconstitutional, and we will stand up for one another. I'm grateful for the leadership of Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago and our own DA, District Attorney Larry Krasner here in Philadelphia. But as a community organizer, I also know that we all, once again, we all have to play a role in keeping each other safe. We can't wait for one leader or one hero to come and put things right for us, because it's not going to happen. Our best hope is collective action, grounded in communities where we live and work. That's why these town halls are so important. The town halls taking place this week are the chance for us to know our rights and get prepared to stand together against illegal occupations in our city. In collaboration with fellow elected leaders and organizations like National Domestic Workers Alliance, I will also be hosting a series of trainings for Philadelphians to learn how to become active bystanders during ICE raids or National Guard deployment. If you attend one of these town halls or training, you will come away with the knowledge about the rights we have under our Constitution, how we can document incidents when those rights are being violated. That knowledge is like a lighted candle. You can bring that lighted candle back to your own community and use it to light other folks' candles. Host community meetings, share information on social media, talk to your family, your friends, and your neighbors. That's how we drive out darkness and fill our city with each other's light. Thank you so much.
So that's how you organize. You heard that? That was awesome. Be the light, bring the light. Look at that. We didn't even write that. That was all written by a council member. And that does bring to mind, before we hear from Pastor Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck, senior pastor, I should say, at Grace Baptist, that does bring to mind the flyers. I think at this point, we should go through the 3 flyers, each of which will give you time, date, and location for these town halls, one of which is going to be held at Senior Pastor Buck's church. And then we will hear from Senior Pastor Buck, a couple more comments, and go to Q&A. All right, so here are the 3 flyers, which are in circulation now. The first event will be held tonight, September the 16th, Tuesday, at the Salt and Light Church, which is 5736 Chester Avenue. That will be the church of Pastor Sean James. The second event is tomorrow night, Wednesday, September 17th, and that will be held at Grace Baptist Church of Germantown, which is 25 West Johnson Street, the church of Pastor Buck. The third one will be held on Thursday, September 18th, at the historic and appropriately historic Mother Bethel AME Church, 419 South 6th Street. That, of course, is the church of Pastor Cavanaugh, who has assumed that role now for some time from Mark Tyler. Very well known for his activism in the community and his making sure that faith was reflected outside the walls of the church. not just inside the walls of the church. It is my great pleasure to introduce Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck, Senior Pastor of Grace Baptist Church of Germantown, someone who has come to our attention as a partner, as a collaborator for many reasons, only one of which, he makes a mean rib. And he makes that mean rib with people who are coming out of custody, who have been involved in the criminal justice system in some way, because he knows, like we know, that most people really will do the best if they are given a second chance, if they're given an opportunity at employment, if they're given an opportunity at dignity, and to provide for their families. It is my great pleasure to invite up Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck to say a few words.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. D.A. Krasner, for this privilege, and to all of you who are watching and listening. I am Reverend Dr. J. Henry Buck, Jr., the 10th Senior Pastor of the historic Grace Baptist Church of Germantown, 25 West Johnson Street, a church in the heart of the community, ever seeking to win the community's heart is our motto. Please permit me to raise a quote that I think is very appropriate at this time. Many of you know about Medgar Evers, who was a great man in the civil rights movement. Many of you know that he was a part of the NAACP, of trying to bring about a degree of freedom. But Medgar Evers had a brother by the name of Charles Evers, and how Medgar actually got influenced with the things that he did was through his brother Charles Evers, who was the mayor of a town in Mississippi for over 20-some years. Let me raise a quote, even as I address the circumstance. Charles Evers says these words: "The main thing I believe is freedom. The main thing I believe is freedom." Dr. Martin Luther King says these words: "How long will prejudice blind the visions of men, darken their understanding, and drive bright-eyed wisdom from her sacred throne?" We're living in a day and time, even in the city here in Philadelphia, where freedom is being threatened. Not too far from these hallowed grounds where we stand, there is a symbol of freedom that we know called the Liberty Bell. That bell has an actual crack in it. Many of us have found out and read about how the crack actually got there, but which also symbolically represents the crack in our justice system when the wrong people are at the helm of it. We ask ourselves today, this kind of power that we are in need of will not come from the top, because we see what's happening there. But even as we have looked back at history and focus on the injustices that take place, these movements come from houses of worship. These movement comes from sacred places of justice that recognize everybody has dignity, humanity, and deserve to be respected regardless of difference. And so my question to us today is, even in the year of 2025, will we allow ourselves to be taken out by the top-heavy misrepresentation of who our nation is? Or will we stand for justice, stand for equality, stand firm and not allow anyone or anything to take us down? We're in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Philosophically, I say, Philadelphia sits in between Wall Street and the White House. Think about the influence that we could have. We have the power to lead this nation and these people, because we are in the place where democracy got started. My question and my answer, my response, whatever we have today, is simply this: we have no time to back down. It's time for those of us, we may not be rich, but we are wealthy in experience, we are wealthy in power, and we are wealthy in unity. And so I say to all of you who are listening today, who are watching today, this is the time that justice must be rebirthed, and it starts here in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Mr. District Attorney, and thank you all who are watching. But this day starts a new day. We will not be intimidated. We will not be controlled. We will not be taken advantage of because of the inconsistent insecurity of those who do not know who they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Please let me know what time your services are on Sunday. I need to get over there and learn some stuff. But seriously, thank you for that. All right, so just a couple more comments, and then we'll go to Q&A. Given timing restrictions on everyone involved, I'm going to ask you respectfully, serve up your best question. I don't really have time for 2 or 3. We will certainly have a lot more to say at these town halls. I hope that you attend. But just a note, the second town hall is one in where the location has changed. There was a different location, but due to logistical difficulties, it had to be modified. And it will, of course, be at the location indicated there, which is Grace Baptist Church of Germantown, 25 West Johnson Street, the church of Pastor J. Henry Buck. That's where it will be. If you would be so kind as to get that information out, because an earlier flyer went out, and we just don't want to have people who are truly interested show up at the wrong location. We would appreciate that. Point 2, undoubtedly I haven't made the point as well as I would like to make it, but sometimes telling a little bit of a story does what you need to do, all right? Everybody thinks of social justice movements as being led by politicians. Hell no. That is not our history at all. Everybody's got a holiday for Dr. King. They arrested him 20 times. Most of the politicians he ever dealt with condemned him, called him a troublemaker. Let's not kid ourselves. We get somewhere as a country when the people lead, and when their leaders listen, and their leaders do what the people require. That's how we get there. And some of the most important actors in our efforts at improving society, at social justice, have not been lawyers, they have not been electeds, they have come in all stripes. Let me just give you one of them, because, well, I don't know, I know a guy who's doing a PhD thesis on this. Nina Simone. Nina Simone, one of the greatest singers in United States history. Nina Simone came to Philadelphia when she was a teenager to be a concert pianist. She was incredibly talented. She was very young. She was black. She went to the Curtis Institute, and they basically said black girls don't do this. You ever wonder how she became a jazz singer? That's how she became a jazz singer. Because the power, the institutions, the people with the money said no. And she needed to earn a living. So she became not just a jazz singer, but one of the most influential people in terms of the American movement for black civil rights in the South in the 1960s, one of the most influential people there. She wasn't a lawyer, she wasn't an elected, she didn't even call herself an activist, but that's what she did. Now, is that confined to people who can sing? No. It's confined to all people, because all people have the ability to move society. Sometimes, frankly, much more ability to move it than people who have a bunch of money and kind of like it the way things are, or people who got elected, and they're kind of trying to hang on to the votes they had before. This is a moment when every Philadelphian, like Nina Simone, and I'm not saying she's a perfect person or anybody else is a perfect person, but like so many others, not just the names you know, but the names you'll never know, these are the people who actually change society. And Philadelphia is full of 1.6 million of those people. Anybody wants to mess with them, they're going to find out. All right. Having said that, we will go to Q&A. Once again, one question, please. Channel 3 CBS, Mr. Gardner, do you have any questions? All right, thank you, sir. Channel 6 ABC, John Turner, do you have any questions, sir? Channel 10, thank you. Channel 10 NBC, Dan Lee, any questions, sir?
Have you gotten any indication that a deployment is imminent?
The answer to that question is no. We don't have any indication a deployment is imminent, partly because the President of the United States seldom says anything true and usually does the opposite of what he says. There is a reason he has the nickname Taco. Trump always chickens out. If you got any questions about that, might look at Chicago. We were all full steam ahead, weren't we? Until he decided it might be easier to go to New Orleans. Well, that is actually what happens when a city stands up. And I appreciate that they knew their people, that the governor and the mayor and others there knew their people, and they knew their people were not having it. All right, Philadelphia Inquirer, Mr. Bunch.
Yeah, Mr. Krasner, I know you mentioned on CNN, you encourage people to, take out their cell phones, film troops should they be deployed. Can you just elaborate on what kinds of strategies, you're going to be, people are going to be recommending at these town halls, and kind of what do you suggest Philadelphians do should this happen?
I'm happy to elaborate. What you're talking about here, and we did reference it, is that when you bring your phone out and you point it, or you bring a camera and you point it, and you record what you are seeing, like this. When you bring the light, you are the light. There's certain kinds of terrible things that happen in darkness. Vampires know something about that. We need to bring the light. Let's not forget what's going on down in the Cradle of Liberty these days. We are, I think, about 1 day away from the United States government trying to eliminate the memorial to the slaves of George Washington. We're trying to erase slavery in this country, and by we, I mean the President of the United States and his weird circle are trying to erase the history of slavery in the United States, including the history of George Washington and his slaves. Well, here's the news. We ain't letting you erase history. We're going to make that history. If it takes 1 million cameras recording that are pointed at checkpoints, at illegal detentions, at a tremendous amount of money being spent so that mulch can be spread by National Guard troops, who, by the way, are not trained landscapers any more than they're trained police officers. If that's what it is, good luck erasing this history, because it will be all over the internet. It is going to be on servers. It is going to be permanent. It's not going to be, like the Epstein files, where you can try to shred some of them, hide some of them, never turn over some of them. It's going to be out there. Not only are we going to make that history so it's very, very clear for all purposes, including litigation in court, including criminal prosecution where necessary, but it's going to be a history that you can never, ever, ever erase. And I think you raise a really important point, something we'll talk about tonight, which is that in many ways the success of the black movement for civil rights in the South in the United States, led in part by Medgar Evers and Dr. King, in large part that success was because it was on camera. To some extent, the effort to bring to a conclusion the Vietnam War was a success because what was happening, unacceptably happening to most Americans, was on camera. Make no mistake, there is a very, very long legacy, a very long history here of the value of videography, the value of photography, and how that manages to capture and explain and tell the story of a moment in a way that is universal. And once it does that, whatever people thought was powerful before doesn't look so powerful anymore. That's just how it is. And that is something that is done from the grassroots, and it's done from the grassroots up. All right, let me see. Sherry Stone of the Philadelphia Tribune. So the doors will open for all three of the town halls at 5:30, and the actual start will be 6 o'clock. These are not all-night events. These are going to be pretty carefully kept to an hour and a half or less, as best we can do that. The point, of course, is not to tell people what to do. The point is to have a conversation, to crowdsource good ideas. There's nothing proprietary here. It is my earnest hope that people carefully and thoughtfully will move on their own in the right direction. All right, so last but never least, Mr. Cipriano of Big Trial.
Mr. Krasner, which of these findings of fact by Judge Anne Marie Coyle do you dispute? That your office sprang convicted killer Dontia Patterson out of prison by falsely and maliciously lawyers also didn't tell the judge that the McCaffrey files that your office claimed were confidential had already been shared years earlier with New York University's law school.
Just get my coffee, please continue.
No problem. That your office hid evidence, namely the McCaffrey files, quote, under the 1 millisecond that the documents at issue weren't intentionally misplaced or destroyed, Judge Boyle said to the stand. And finally, that he and Reverend Krasner were responsible for creating a culture in the DA's office to, quote, denigrate prior prosecutors, prior administrations to an unusually extreme level, and that as a result, your lawyers operate with a, quote, inherent bias. Which of those findings of facts by a judge who wrote a 149-page memorandum do you dispute?
So was that one question, that question which went on for 2.5 minutes, made me go get my coffee, take another sip? Was that one question? I just want to be clear. Is that one question? Okay. So you see before you, a photograph. I'm answering. You just, if you would be a little polite, it would be a revelation. What you see before you is a mural, which is at Girard College. And this is a mural, since you raised lawyering, that is dedicated to Cecil B. Moore, a man who, for the most part, was reviled by the white media in his time, but who in fact played an incredibly important role, not only in the desegregation of Girard College, which was a very explicitly racist institution that was established by a very wealthy man exclusively to serve white kids. He was, in fact, generally reviled by establishment figures, establishment media in his time, and yet there he is on a mural, and he is there where he should be, standing by the people who are the power, the people who made the difference, the people whose presence made all the difference.
That's fascinating, Mr. President.
Excuse me, I hadn't finished. Is that your second question? Is that your second question?
Yeah.
Okay, I said one question. Thank you, sir.